Three, two, one, let's go. Hi everybody, and welcome to another exciting edition of Boring JavaScript. I'm your host, the Virtuoid, aka Mike Smith, and today we're going to be talking about the filter method on arrays. Now, this isn't coffee filters, it's not air filters, or anything like that. This is a way to be able to take an array and filter it down into a new array to only include elements based upon a function that you pass to it. You want to see how it works? Let's get started. So the filter method is a very, very easy method to use. And basically, again, what it does is you take a large array and you pass it a function, and that function will test each element of the array. And if that function returns a logical true, then that element is included into a new array. And if it returns a logical false, that element is not included into the array. So let's see exactly how that works. Here is my original array. It has 9 different elements in it. And what I want to do here is I want to extract out of it or filter that array for any animal that begins with the letter C. Here is my filter method. It takes one argument, and that argument is a callback function. And that function is executed on each element of the array. Now, you get past 3 different arguments. Now, I'm just using one in this case, but 3 different arguments you get past. You get past the actual element itself, the index number, and the array that it gets searched on. Now, in this case, again, like I said, I'm just using the element itself. What is my function? I want to find out if the element starts with the capital C or an uppercase C. If starts with returns true, then the filter will return true, and it will say, okay, that particular element gets included in the new array. If it returns false, it says that that particular element does not get included in the array. So what do I have here? Well, I have cat, that starts with the letter C. I have cow, that starts with the letter C. And I have coyote, that starts with the letter C. So I should expect to have a 3-element array once I finish up the filter operation. And that array being cat, cow, and coyote. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to list out the original list of animals and the animals that start with the letter C to show you that the original array is not modified in any way. So let's take a look at that. Let's see how it runs. Let's go into node and let's type in node filter. Yep, sure enough, that's what happened. Here's my original list. It still has all 9 elements there. My new list has just the elements for cat, cow, and coyote. Again, why? Because my function that I passed to the filter method said only give me elements that start with the letter C, which again was cat, cow, and coyote. And that's exactly what it gave to me. And actually, that's it. There's really nothing to it. But what I want to show you next is a situation that occurred in real life a couple of years ago, actually about, I think last year or something like that, in which they got very confused about exactly what filter will return to you. They wanted to be able to mutate or to the elements that were coming out from the filter. And of course, you can't do that. So this is the solution that we came up with, and I'm going to show you that solution next. So here was the original problem. They happened to have an array, and they wanted to filter it based upon a certain condition and return a new object in which this particular object had the animal itself, or in this case the element of the array and the index of the array. And they were using filter to be able to say, hey, you know, if it starts with the letter C, then I want you to return this. So what they expected was that their new array would have cat with the index, which is 0, cow with the index, which is 3, and coyote with the index, which is 4. So when they ran the program, they ended up with this. Notice they did not get cat and 0, cow and 3, and coyote and 4. They got cat, cow, and coyote. And they were confused by this because they were sitting there saying, hey, you know, I'm passing back the animal and the index. Why did I not get that? Well, they forgot a fundamental part about filter. Filter, what is supposed to get returned within the function with filter is not the object itself, but whether the object matches your condition or not. So earlier with the other program, let's flip over to that real quick. I'm passing back the value that comes from, that it's returned from starts with. The starts with always returns a true or a false and nothing else, because that's what filter needs, is a true, Boolean true or Boolean false. Well, this isn't doing a true or false. It's doing a truthy value in this particular case, which is animal and index, but it's not true or false. So since filter is only expecting true or false, it's going to say, hey, if it's true, or in this case, truthy, here's the element. It's not returning what you want it to return, it just returns the element itself. So what did we do to fix this? Well, first thing I told them is, well, you know, the key here is that you need to be able to create this new array to give mutated elements. So the first thing we want to do here is let's use the map method. And I covered the map method in an earlier Boring JavaScript video. And the map method basically takes an array, apply a function to it, and creates a new array based upon that function. And so now in this particular case here, that new array will always have within this index the value that you pass to it. So no longer it's true or false, it will pass back the value. And this should give him exactly what he needed. So we tried that, and this is what came up. Well, we kind of got it. There's our cat, our index for cow and coyote, but we got a whole bunch of undefineds there too. And why did we get the undefineds? It's because map will always return a one-to-one correspondence between the indexes and the, or between the elements in the first array and the elements in the new array. So in our particular case here, we had no return value for 1, 2, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Let's flip back over to our code. And the reason we didn't have that is because the only thing we ever returned is if it was started with C. So now we've got kind of what we wanted here. We got the mutated elements, but we've got all those undefined. So how do we fix that? Well, we fixed that by again using filter. So once we created it with using the map, we then used the filter command to filter out all the undefineds. And we just did a very quick and very simple filter. We said record, not record. This is an old trick. It's called the not trick. Well, I don't know if anybody calls it the not trick. I call it the not trick. And the not trick basically turns any record into a truthy value or a true value, a Boolean true or a Boolean false. For example, let's go back to our display here. We have two different displays. This is our actual element here. This happens to be a truthy value, what's known as a truthy value in JavaScript. Undefined is what's known as a falsy value. It's not a Boolean false or a Boolean true, but it's a falsy value. It will evaluate to false in JavaScript. So by putting the double exclamation marks or the nots at the very beginning there, the first not basically says, okay, I want it to not this value. I want to basically reverse the value. This happens to be a truthy value, so that gets reversed to a Boolean false. The undefined gets reversed from a falsy value to a Boolean true. By having the second exclamation mark there, we basically then take the false and make it into a true, or the true and make it into, the true and make that back into a false, and the false and make that back into a true. So the eventual effect of that double not is to turn any value from its truthy or falsy state into a Boolean true or Boolean false. So now if we flip back to our code here, we know that by doing this, that we're only going to filter any record that returns true, and the only ones that are going to return true are our truthy values, the cat, the cow, and the coyote. Anything that returns false will be our falsy values, which are all of our undefineds. So we should end up with our 3 records, right? Right? Well, let's check it out and find out. Let's clear it. Let's go back into the code. Aha! Yes, that's exactly what we got. Here's our original list. Again, as you can see, it hasn't changed here. Here's our new list with now the elements that we passed back have been filtered and have been mutated to what we exactly wanted. So this is a way you can use filter combined with other methods within the array to be able to get exactly what you want. So in this particular case, we filtered our original array and mutated the elements that were returned into the second array. A great way to be able to use filter in combination with others. So that's how you can mutate the values from the original array. And that's all there is to using the filtered method on arrays. I hope you enjoyed our video. Hope I didn't bore you to death. Please view all of our videos at www.boringjavascript.com. subscribe to our YouTube channel, or see everything we got at blog.thevirtuoid.com. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you later.